Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, December 18th, 2019. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice right now that the ES is trading a very narrow range, really tight 2-day range right here. The overnight range right now is just 7 points for the ES. That's 27% of average range right now. That's super narrow. Obviously, we're pretty much in the grips of the holiday trading right now for the most part, but we still have an upward trending market overall. And as I mentioned before here, yesterday's very narrow range here could lead to an opportunity that, if there's some sort of breakdown through it, it could lead to a buy the dip type of opportunity. Very similar to this day over here when we pushed down through that low, rejected it, and then we somersaulted higher here. Very similar type of idea. We will see again any drop into the 8-period average from below could still be defended as well. The 8-period average, this golden line right there. So any drop into that zone has been defended this entire way up ever since the October pullback. So right now this market remains very bullish overall, but we are in the midst of a very narrow 2-day range, super narrow. Keep an eye on 3190 because if there's a major failure at 3190 and price cannot reclaim that price, then we could see a more meaningful pullback, perhaps even as low as 30.50. But right now, that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. Again, looking for signs of expansion out of the 2-day range. If we take a look here at the NQ, you'll see a very similar 2-day range, very narrow at the highs. NQ trading 26% of average range right now, just 22% of overnight, 22 points of overnight range. It's been averaging 84 on a 10-day basis. Right here, super narrow 2-day range. Again, very similar price action to the ES here, that right now we are trending up, but if we do pull back, it could be a great buying opportunity for continuation higher. We're basically at this stage right now, narrow 2-day range, we got a hard 2-day pullback, and then that led to a continuation higher. So right now, watching the 2-day range, obviously any breakdown could lead to short-term weakness, but say we drop into 8,500 or just below 84.75, that could be a great buying opportunity for continuation higher. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil here had a nice breakout and continuation yesterday, very slow, steady continuation higher, and then pulled back just before the close. Again, this one had a narrow range right here. That 5-day narrow range has gotten a breakout. It started with a failed low, and it started to stretch higher. We measured the upper end of this range here. Right now it's at 385. So 385, call it 4 points from this low right here, which is, this low right here, which is about 58. You can forecast 4 points higher. You get 62s. So we at least have higher to 62, maybe to 62.5 but before this move is done. It's been a very steady, slow move. It hasn't been our typical breakout from a narrow range. It's just been very up, and then it closes at the midpoint. Up, closes at the midpoint. This was up, closes at the midpoint. This is a digestive day. Right now, we have a digestive day. So perhaps, tomorrow could be an up with the close at the middle. So again, it's been a very slow and steady uptrend, but with very clear rotations and patterns here. Looking for further upside price action, and again, very similar to the ES. If it were to drop, below 59, for example, or 259 right here, 59.50, that could be a great buying opportunity for a continuation higher. All right, lastly, taking a look at gold futures. You'll see right here with gold that we're starting to break to the downside. I talked about this yesterday. I mentioned the upper trend line here. I mentioned the lower trend line here, and I mentioned the 2-day narrow range, just like we've seen here, and then a break. And then we also saw it right here, and then a break. And then if we go back a little farther here, you also see it a little farther back. So this market has been very good about staying within this range. It is compressed to a point here where it either needs to break and go, or something needs to happen one way or another. So breaking down right now is very important. Watch 1478. That's going to be the important level there. Any retest of that level from below could be a selling opportunity for continuation. It wouldn't surprise me if this day elongates and hits 1470, maybe even lower. So right now this is pretty weak. Again, breaking down through 1478 over the last hour, and now any pullback over the last 45 minutes, any pullback toward that zone could still be a continuation play back toward 1470 or lower. But we'll see how this plays out because we're still in the range. We got to really break either above 1495 or we got to break below 1460. Right now we're still in that range, so we could easily have a day down and bounce right back up and stay in the range. So we really got to get outside this chunk at some point. So keep an eye on this as it continues to play out. All right, that is it for now. We do not have anything on the economic schedule here today except for crude oil inventories, which comes up here later on today. Yesterday, API weekly crude oil stock came out at a build of 4.7 million. So we'll see what that means for crude oil today. All right, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the trading room. Take care.